dungeon everyone named Death's Lair finally fell to one stubborn man. Su Ming walked alone into an S-rank nightmare, beat the boss, and walked out with something the world wanted, a divine ring. But victory turned to trap. Allies he trusted closed in, a binding circle bloomed, and the woman he thought was on his side stabbed him where it hurt most. The artifact was the prize, and betrayal the plan. Then the impossible happened. A vortex, a blinding light, and he opens his eyes at an awakening ceremony. 18 again, the ring of defiance hot on his finger, and a golden system declaring a mythic profession, Sword God. The world that branded him a monster just got a second chance at him. He remembers everything. Old wounds, old plots, and a vow made in blood. Those who set the trap will answer, one way or another. He keeps the ring close, keeps the class secret, and goes after the one thing the last life stole from him. Time to get it right. This is not a rebirth for peace. It's a restart with memory, artifact, and a mythic path. The Academy laughs. The nobles watch, but Su Ming has the tools and a promise. Now the game begins, and this time, he writes the ending. Everything starts on the day the awakening finally hits the world. Everyone knew the place as Death's Lair, and it had a reputation for being an S-rank dungeon. For years, nobody could get through this portal. It was the first one like it, and it just showed up out of nowhere. People tried for decades, but it never got cleared. Ming decided to go it alone, stepping up to face the boss by himself. He kept his cool and pushed through, eventually taking down the boss without any help. Just then, a group of guys showed up and blocked his way. They wanted the divine artifact he'd just gotten, and made it clear they expected him to hand it over. Ming stands in the middle of a group that claims to be on his side, but things take a turn. The guys around him suddenly get aggressive, making it clear they're not as friendly as they seemed. Instead of having his back, they start pushing him around with threats, and Ming realizes he can't really trust any of them. Right then, he figures out he got tricked. The whole thing was just a setup so they could take his stuff. The leader of the traitors stands across from the main character, ready for a showdown. Tension hangs in the air as both know what's at stake. It's clear this isn't just any fight. There's history and unfinished business between them. The moment feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath, watching to see who'll make the first move. Gets ready and starts calling out his massive weapon, pulling it into view. Junction's weapon started to light up, sparks of electricity running along its surface. It looked like it was about to do something big, and anyone watching could tell this wasn't just for show. The guy stared Ming down, making it clear what he wanted. If Ming just handed over the artifact, things wouldn't get any worse for him. It was one of those moments where the stakes felt high, and Ming knew he had to make a choice. So it turns out the traitor isn't there to talk or make any deals. He's just planning to wipe out all of the guy's powers. The main dude feels completely let down, thinking back to how he always had this guy's back, almost like family, ever since they were both 18. Now he finally gets just how toxic his old friend really is. They only cared about getting the divine item, so the hero let loose with serious energy, not holding anything back. He calls out the traitors, daring them to try and take the divine ring from him. He stands his ground, showing he's not scared, and waits to see if anyone's actually brave enough to step up. The guys start to get nervous when they see what Ming can do, but stands his ground and refuses to back off. Knows they're almost there. The plan is basically finished, and just one last thing stands in their way. It's that moment where everything feels right on the edge, close enough to imagine the win, but not quite safe yet. Out of nowhere, a woman showed up above him, calling out his name loud enough for everyone to hear. He doesn't see it coming at all. One second, everything's normal, and the next, something totally unexpected happens. He just stands there, caught off guard, not sure how to react at first. It turns out to be someone he knows, a girl named Xiaoman. The girl wraps her arms around him, holding on tight. She'd been anxious since she heard about the trap, and now that she sees him, there's this look of real relief on her face. Ming just grinned, looking pretty confident. With the ring on his finger, he felt untouchable, like nothing could mess with him now. Ming couldn't figure out how those guys managed to find him. It didn't make sense. He hadn't told anyone where he'd be. The thought bugged him, replaying over and over in his mind as he tried to come up with an answer. At the same time, the leader of the traitors stands back, grinning in a way that shows he's up to no good. He just watches everything unfold, clearly enjoying the chaos. Out of nowhere, Xiaomun turns on him. He never saw it coming, and for a moment everything just stops. It's like his mind can't quite process what just happened. Xiaomun, the one person he thought he could trust, just stabbed him in the back. RMC just stood there trying to process what happened. He trusted her, and now it felt like the ground had dropped out from under him. It was tough to wrap his head around the fact that she went behind his back. All the times they'd hung out and shared stuff suddenly felt different, and now he wasn't sure what to think. Couldn't help but feel proud as the plan worked out just like he hoped. He quickly set off the binding formation, locking everything into place. A red magic circle started to appear. As soon as it happens, a strange mark shows up, and he finally gets it. Someone's been messing with him behind his back this whole time. The traitor steps over to side, making it clear she had been working with him the whole time. Turns out she was just using the hero to get what she wanted. When she spotted Ming's 9-star talent, she realized right away that he could help her get what she wanted. The main guy can't believe what just happened. Betrayed by someone he trusted, it hits him hard. The anger builds up until he just loses it, yelling out as loud as he can. All that trust is gone, and now there's nothing left but pure frustration. The leader of the traitors didn't waste any time. He gave the signal, and suddenly all his guys rushed at the intruder, trying to take the artifact from him. Out of nowhere, a huge bony hand crashed up through the dirt. Suddenly, a girl wearing a hoodie steps into the scene and signals for everyone to pause. Her magic slammed into the enemy's attacks, sparks flying as the two forces battled for control. He's totally lost, wondering why she showed up out of nowhere. There's a girl hovering above the ground, like she's just hanging there, totally weightless. Yao, who knows some seriously dark magic, tries to encourage Ming. She doesn't want him to quit, even when things get rough. Gets annoyed when another person arrives, thinking it's just someone else about to lose. He acts all confident, telling himself that there's no way Ming can escape this time, not even if an emperor tried to help. With so many strong fighters backing him up, feels like they've already won. They rush forward, ready to go for another round. The fight starts and the girl steps up, going against a bunch of guys all at once. She keeps Ming safe, making sure no one gets close to him while she handles the attackers. The traitor charges forward, throwing all his strength into the attack. He doesn't hold back, making it clear to everyone around that he's serious. Nobody standing in his path is safe right now. Ming spots trouble fast. He sees someone sneaking up behind Yao and his gut tightens. Without thinking, he shouts out, trying to warn her before anything bad happens. The traitor goes after Ji Yaw, landing a hard hit without holding back. Ji Yaw barely has time to react before the next blow comes, making it clear the traitor isn't playing around or showing any sympathy. He just stood there, frozen, staring as her name slipped out under his breath. He couldn't believe what was happening, almost like his brain refused to catch up. Realized he shouldn't be thinking about anyone else right now, since he's the one up next. The traitor leader didn't waste any time. He charged straight at Ming, making it clear that he wasn't messing around. It was obvious he wanted Ming out of the way, just like everyone else. The boy's injuries are serious. Junction looks at him and makes it clear he has to give up what he's carrying if he wants any chance of making it out alive. Blood dripped from the hero's mouth as anger burned in his eyes. He shouts at everyone, calling them out, and then pulls off this insane move that looks almost unreal. The power coming off the scene was wild, and the traitors could hardly believe what they were seeing. Most of them just stood there, frozen, as the energy burst out in front of them. It was obvious none of them had expected things to get that intense. Right after the explosion, the guy tries to find Yao, shouting his name as thick smoke fills the air around him. He holds her close, wondering why she showed up, especially after everything he did to mess things up. He watches as she gently puts her hand on his cheek, and right then, regret shows up on his face. Yao grinned, looking over at his friends. He made it clear that if one of them was going, they were all going. No one was getting left behind. The hero's sword crashes down and hits the ground hard, sending out a burst of energy that everyone can see. The enemies just stood there, watching in silence, looking pretty confused about what was going on. Ming held Yao close, his mind set on a promise. In that moment, as the god of he made a silent vow. He made up his mind that if he ever got another shot at life, he wouldn't let things slide. Ren and were definitely going to pay, no matter what it took or how long it would take him. The traitors look around, not sure what's going on. Their leader watches the hero closely, trying to figure out what he's planning. Right then, realizes he wants to bring the divine artifact back into Death's lair. Out of nowhere, a huge vortex pops up again right where the portal was. The main guy steps forward, challenging everyone to try and take the divine item from him. Without hesitating, he jumps straight into the swirling vortex, leaving everyone behind. He tumbled into the portal as the hero held out the ring to the enemies, trying to make a deal. The artifact in Ming's hand started to shine bright, lighting up the space around him. Everything goes bright all at once, like someone just turned on a massive light. The main guy isn't sure if he just passed out or something else happened. He's stuck in that weird moment, trying to figure out what's real. He opens his eyes to find himself somewhere completely unfamiliar. As he looks around, nothing looks familiar, and he starts to wonder how he even got there. The place feels almost unreal, and he's left trying to figure out what happened. He glances up and spots what seems to be a school building ahead. A guy stands with a microphone in his hand, looking like he's about to host something important. He spots a guy standing on stage, talking to a bunch of students. Everyone's attention snapped to the screen as the announcement played. It said that one of the students had just awakened as a 3-star enchanter. Suddenly, the room felt different, like something big had just happened. People started glancing around, wondering who it was. Some looked excited, others seemed a bit unsure, but nobody wanted to miss what would happen next. Ming found himself back at the Awakening ceremony. The place felt just as tense as before, packed with people who were all waiting to see what would happen next. Everyone seemed to be holding their breath, eyes on him, and he could feel the weight of their attention pressing down. It was hard not to notice how serious things had gotten, but Ming kept his focus, ready for whatever was coming. Everything about this feels strangely familiar to him, almost like he's been through it all once already. He figures out he's somehow back at 18, right on the day of the ceremony. Then he remembers that student who just awakened, the chubby kid. He remembers that the guy used to be an enchanter in his old life too. The announcer kept going, and Lee Sung-young got upgraded to a 2-star warrior. Meanwhile, didn't make it. The student can't help but feel proud of himself after finally reaching the level of a 2-star warrior. It's a big deal for him, and he takes a moment to soak it all in. This is something he's been working toward for a while, so the sense of achievement is real. He's pumped up, knowing he's finally made some solid progress. The next kid steps up and just breaks down, tears running down his face. His awakening didn't go right at all, and it hit him hard. The disappointment was clear as he realized things hadn't turned out like he hoped. Song Li finally wakes up as a combat mage, and the crowd around him cheers. He looks a little surprised at first, but then a grin spreads across his face as he soaks in the moment. There's a buzz of excitement in the air, with everyone clearly hyped to see what he's just pulled off. Song stands tall, feeling proud and a bit relieved, enjoying the energy from everyone around him. The main guy stands back and watches everything unfold with a small, knowing grin. It's pretty clear he saw this coming way before anyone else did. He smiles, realizing deep down that this really is a new start for him. It finally sinks in. He's not the same person he used to be. Just then, his face shifts as something comes back to him. He thinks this is his shot to make things right. Suddenly, one of the guys in class gets all worked up and starts making a scene about some hidden combat job. Everyone turns to look, caught off guard by how loud he is, and the room gets a bit tense as they try to figure out what he's talking about. Tang wakes up and finds out he's turned into a magic hammer warrior. It's not what he expected, but now he's got this power, and everything around him suddenly feels different. He looks at his hands, realizing things are about to change in a big way. On top of everything else, it turns out his natural ability is ranked at 8 stars. Everyone in the crowd starts cheering when they spot him. He's the young master from the family, and everyone knows his parents are seriously powerful. He looks over at Tang, his face set and focused, not breaking eye contact. While the announcer praised the academy for having an 8-star genius, Su Ming suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. Jiao showed up, saying she'd been searching for him. He looks at her with an expression she can't quite figure out. Noticing it, she tries to understand what's up with him. Meanwhile, he suddenly congratulates her for something, but she has no clue what he's talking about, which just leaves her even more confused. Right then, he remembers how she once gave up everything for him in his past life. The memory hits him hard, and it's like for a second, everything else fades away. He can't ignore how much that moment still matters to him, even now. He smiles when he sees her, looking like he's actually glad she showed up. Deep down, he knows she doesn't get what's going on yet, but he figures she'll catch on before long. When the announcer called up for her awakening, she started to feel nervous. The guy gestures for her to put her hand on the awakening totem. She hesitates for a second, not really sure what to expect, but then she reaches out and rests her hand on it, feeling a little nervous. The girl stretches out her hand and touches the blue energy. As soon as she makes contact, the light gets way brighter, almost lighting up everything around her. She didn't expect it when a blue light started wrapping around her, covering her from head to toe. For a second, she just stood there, trying to process what was going on. Out of nowhere, a huge wave of power sweeps through the area. The crowd instantly starts talking, everyone realizing that someone with a rare profession just showed up. Word started spreading that had just awakened as a necromancer. It was one of those rare, 7-star secret classes that barely anyone ever got. When another secret combat profession showed up right after the first, the students couldn't believe it. Everyone started whispering and looking around, trying to figure out what was going on. Some guys pulled out their phones like they were about to post about it, while others just stared, wide-eyed. The whole room buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Ming grins, not surprised at all. This is what he was waiting for. Now it's finally his moment. The announcer says his name, and everyone in the crowd looks at him with doubt. To them, he's just some orphan with no real talent. In this world, the Awakened run the show. They pretty much call the shots in a place everyone knows as Dragon Country. A long time back, something called the Awakening happened. Ever since then, when someone hits 18, they get the chance to switch up what they do for work. With this, they get access to new powers and gear that could totally flip how their lives turn out. But at the same time, they have to deal with wild monsters and risky dungeons. On top of everything else, there are still tons of other problems they have to deal with. Back in his last life, the main guy grew up without any parents. He learned to get by with whatever help he could find, like handouts and scholarships. On the day everyone had been waiting for, the awakening finally happened. He got lucky and ended up with a 9-star attribute. He was known as the legendary god of slaughter, a title that meant he was seriously strong. In this new life, he's ready to prove himself all over again. Everyone's watching, and he knows it's his chance to step up and remind them what he can do. The announcer notices something weird with the power in the air and starts to think it might actually be a 9-star genius causing it. Yao and the other students just stand there, frozen. They can't help but think this might be another one of those hidden jobs or something. Everyone's looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. The hero takes a steady breath, getting ready to handle the rune's power again. He knows what's coming, but he's not backing down now. His hands tense up a little as he focuses, reminding himself he's done this before and he can do it again. Out of nowhere, a light starts shining on his chest. He looks down and spots the Ring of Defiance, the divine artifact, lighting up. It takes him a second to process what's happening, but he quickly gets what it means. He looks down at his hand, surprised to see the same ring still there. Somehow it made the jump with him. Suddenly a bright screen flashes in front of him, locking him into a new path, a mythic profession called Sword God. He stared at the screen, barely able to process what he was seeing. Somehow he just unlocked a mythic job, the Sword God. Suddenly the whole sky lights up with wild streaks of purple and red, spreading everywhere overhead. It looks unreal, like something out of a game or a crazy special effect, making everyone stop and stare. The teacher just stands there, mouth open, trying to figure out what kind of job could make something like this happen. One of the guys thought it would be pretty disappointing if it ended up being a job that didn't involve any fighting. The hero from the family eyes the main guy, looking like he doesn't trust him one bit. He starts to notice that the guy just stands there, not moving at all, even though everything around him is buzzing with action. It makes him curious, trying to figure out why someone would freeze up like that when things are getting intense. The main guy figures out that his job isn't what it used to be. He's now called Sword God. This isn't what he signed up for, and it takes a second to process. Still, he knows he has to roll with it, even if everything's about to change. He reached out and pressed his hand against the golden system screen. He spots right away that the system isn't like the one he remembered from before. It looks new, with stuff he hasn't seen, and he can't help but stare for a second, trying to figure out how it works now. The screen lit up with his name, and right below it, his new job popped up, Sword God. The system then tells him he has this rare golden talent that lets him turn anything into something better. He just stood there, totally caught off guard. This new skill was way better than anything he had before, even better than his old 9-star job. He couldn't help but smile to himself, already thinking how crazy strong he'd get if this was legit. He thinks this new power will make him even stronger than he used to be, when everyone feared him as the god of slaughter. When the skills screen pops up, he notices there's nothing unlocked at all. He just stares, totally lost, not sure what's going on. The main guy clenches his fists, his face turning red as frustration takes over. He looks around, upset, thinking about how he doesn't have any skills, not even one. For a second, he just stands there, breathing hard, annoyed at himself more than anyone else. While all this is going on, the announcer starts getting impatient, wondering why Ming is still not finished. It's clear he's taking longer than everyone expected, and people are starting to notice. The guy starts thinking about how having no powers pretty much makes him like everyone else. He can't help but wonder if the system is just playing games with him at this point. He looks at the screen and sees a message pop up. The system tells him it's getting feedback and needs to figure out which ring he's using. Out of nowhere, the Ring of Defiance shows up in the protagonist's hand. The system finally figures out what the divine artifact is. The system screen shines brightly, lighting up his face in the dark room. Suddenly, a bright golden light bursts upward, stretching straight into the sky. The energy behind it is intense, lighting up everything around and grabbing everyone's attention. The announcer notices the lights flicker, and his eyes go wide. He can't help but think about what just happened and starts to question if the awakening has finished. A star with the number 10 lit up in the night sky. The guy stared up, not really trusting what he was seeing. It just didn't make sense. Stuff like this never happened, not even in wild tick stories. He kept looking, trying to figure out if he was dreaming or if something was seriously off. Right then, everyone finds out he's unlocked this rare hidden job called Star Sword Controller. The students stare in disbelief, trying to figure out what kind of 10-star monster just showed up. Some of them can't help but pull out their phones, snapping pictures and sending them to friends. Everyone's mind races with guesses, but nobody really knows what they're looking at. The whole room buzzes with excitement and nervous energy as everyone waits to see what happens next. Tang stands there, not sure what to say. Nearby, a guy who used to brag about his 8 stars can't help but notice there's a student around with 10. Suddenly, his own achievement doesn't seem so impressive anymore. This year, the Academy's got a lot of new faces, and everyone can tell there's some serious potential in the crowd. Even the announcer seems pretty hyped about all the fresh talent showing up. Everyone knew the job wasn't exactly top tier, but people could see that Ming had something special. His skills stood out, and there was this sense that no matter where he started, he could go really far. His talent was that obvious. After that, the principal steps up and gives the main guy some cultivation gear as a reward. But instead of being impressed, everyone in the crowd starts laughing at him. They start talking about how his class is the weakest one out of all the swordsmen, and nobody thinks he stands a chance. The hero listens in and realizes that everyone else thinks his sword controller class is basically useless. Out of nowhere, Jiao rushed over to Ming, wanting to say something. The girl gives him a smile, nodding at his achievement, and he does the same for her, both of them quietly recognizing each other's progress. Everyone could tell his talent was off the charts, like he was born for this. Even though his class had some clear problems, it seemed obvious he'd find a way through. With that kind of skill, nobody really doubted he'd figure it out. He gave her a quick nod, letting her know he appreciated the help. Whatever rumors or talk had been going around, he honestly couldn't care less. That stuff just didn't bother him. He admits to himself that this is how he hoped they'd react, and seeing the girl looking lost just makes him feel like he's got the upper hand. At the same time, the announcer steps up and calls out the name of the next student who's supposed to go through the awakening ceremony. The crowd goes wild, clapping and yelling for the girl. She stands out not just because she's good-looking, but because everyone can't help but notice her. Ren Xiaomun steps forward, catching the attention of everyone around. Tang stands back, watching her closely, curiosity written all over his face. He doesn't say anything, just keeps his eyes on her, trying to figure out what she's really up to. The hero from the family gives her a quick wish for luck, and she just nods back, showing she's ready for whatever comes next. Everyone at school knew the girl was the prettiest around, and Yao noticed how much attention she got because of it. The main character turns around and walks away, not even bothering to watch what's happening. Clearly, he doesn't care about whatever's going on right now. He thinks back to his previous life and realizes the traitor always used his skills just to climb higher. He remembers how, at the end, the girl turned on him right away without even thinking twice. He suddenly thinks back to the promise he made right before everything went wrong. He swears to himself that someday he'll make things right and pay them back for everything they've done. Ming steps out of the ceremony and heads into the city. He walks along the busy streets, blending in with the crowd as he goes, his mind replaying everything that just happened. The noise and lights of the city surround him, but he keeps moving, not really paying attention to anyone around him. In this new life, he starts to notice that his daily routine hasn't really changed at all. Everything looks and feels just like it did before, almost like nothing's different. The only real difference in his life now was his job. He kept everything about it completely hidden. He can hide his info or change it whenever he wants. He suddenly realizes this is one of the 4 skills he picked up back in his old life. Right then, the Ring of Defiance showed up, glowing right in front of him. He stared down at his hand, not really believing what he was seeing. Somehow, the divine artifact had ended up with him. For a second, he couldn't move, just trying to figure out how this even happened. It was wild. He never thought he'd actually hold something like this. He finds out from the system that some of his old job skills have carried over to this new life. Now he gets it. He's got the Sword God class, and those God of Slaughter skills are his to use. He checks his status screen and sees something wild. His job isn't like anyone else's. It's the only one in the world, and it's actually rated as mythic, which is basically top tier. He remembers how things went down before and doesn't want to get played again. So, he figures he has to get stronger this time. He chooses to keep his job a secret and tries to enjoy this fresh start as best he can. The day after the awakening ceremony sticks in the hero's mind. He can still picture how everything felt so new and a little confusing, like the world had changed overnight. The Rookie Dungeon Challenge is about to open up for everyone. For him, this isn't really hard, but he knows he still has to level up and grab better gear. He thought it over and made up his mind. He was going after the toughest boss in the whole place. Before doing anything else, the main guy realizes he needs to find himself a solid weapon. At the same time, over at a fancy hotel in the city called the Palace, things were unfolding. Ren Shaman and Tang were sitting close, lost in their own world. It was one of those moments where everything else faded out. Both seemed comfortable, like they trusted each other with stuff they probably didn't tell anyone else. Their shoulders almost touched, and the way they looked at each other showed they were way more than just business partners. For a second, the usual noise of trading life didn't matter. This was just about the two of them. The girl wasn't happy about being there, and it showed. The guy could feel his patience wearing thin, especially since Ming ended up being the center of attention instead of him. It was hard not to get frustrated when things didn't go the way he planned. Tang couldn't help but wonder what the girl was up to. She pulled out her phone and turned the screen toward him, showing something that caught his attention right away. When he spots the phone, the family's son suddenly goes quiet. His face turns serious, all the usual goofiness gone as he stares at the screen. It's clear something on that phone just got his full attention. Xiaomun started thinking ahead. She had her own plan and wanted to make sure Ming would be useful to her later on. She figured out a way to trick him, already setting things in motion without him even realizing it. Far from that spot, the main guy shows up at this massive building, ready to pick out his weapon. He makes his way up to the 12th floor, where all the weapon shops are. There are students everywhere, crowding the place and filling up every spot. He hears some guys talking about how they can't really buy the pricey weapons at school. Everyone crowded in, checking out this sword that was on display. It had a crazy price tag, 1 million, And what really got everyone talking was the fact that it could actually freeze the blood of monsters. Guys were snapping pics, posting stories, and trying to get a closer look, all wondering who would even buy something like that. He smirked to himself, knowing the weapon was just a fake. The memory of those sellers getting busted flashed through his mind, and he felt a bit more at ease. Out of nowhere, a woman stepped in front of him, flanked by 2 bodyguards. She knew his name and called out to him, making him freeze on the spot. Lan walked up and let him know who she was. She was the vice director at Conglomerate. She handed him a business card, her expression calm and professional, like she'd done this 100 times before. Ming grabs the card, totally confused about who this woman is. Lan steps up and tells him he can get whatever he wants from the store, but there's a catch. He needs a favor in return. The guy wonders what favor the woman needs, and she pulls out her phone, getting ready to show him a photo. One of the bodyguards pulled out his phone and held it up so the main guy could see the screen. In the photo, a really pretty girl sits right in the center of a garden filled with white flowers. The woman explains that her sister is. She already knows about Ming and his rare 10-star talent. She wanted him to team up with her sister and watch her back while they went into the rookie dungeon. There were only stairs. He turned her down right away. The woman, not missing a beat, told him he could pick any weapon he wanted if he changed his mind and said yes. Ming lifted his finger and aimed it straight at the priciest weapon in the shop. He looks over the choices, thinks for a second, and picks the one that stands out to him. The weapon the hero's after is called the Frosty Sky's Cold Sword. It's not cheap. This thing costs $1 million. The woman heard what he said and instantly got irritated. She looked at him, clearly not buying his confidence about being worth $1 million. The main guy explains that he was the one who made the offer in the first place. If she isn't into it, he's cool with that. He points out that money isn't the answer to everything and thinks her sister should get ready for what's coming. The vice director looked at him, kind of sizing him up, and seemed to think he was different from the others. Still, there was a clear warning in the air. They weren't about to let what he did slide. It was obvious that whatever happened today wouldn't be forgotten anytime soon. Everyone in the crowd couldn't believe he actually stood up to the big company. People stared, some nudged their friends, and a few even pulled out their phones, ready to share what just happened. It wasn't every day someone had the guts to go against people with that much power. Out of nowhere, his phone buzzes in his pocket. He glances at the screen, curious about who just texted him. He notices the message on his phone, and it's from the trader, Ren Xiaoman. He spots that message from his past life again. Looking at it, he can't help but notice the girl is still just like he remembers. She hasn't really changed at all. Right then, he thought back to his past life. He remembered how easily he got caught up in her scheme back then, not even realizing what was happening until it was too late. Now, the main guy decides to go along with her plan and locks in the meetup. After that, Ming walks over to the saleswoman. He wants to ask her something, so he gets her attention, looking a bit unsure but determined to figure things out. The hero wanted to know more about the sword stones, so he brought it up. The woman let him know that these stones could actually make some pretty solid weapons, the silver-grade kind. The employee lets him know it's all just luck, but the guy doesn't mind. That's actually what he's looking for. The salesman stands there, not sure what's going on. He looks around, trying to figure things out, but nothing really makes sense to him right now. Right now, the hero figures it's to put his money on a weapon that doesn't cost much. He knows his options are limited, so he's keeping things low-key and practical, hoping this call helps him get by for now. But the truth is, he's not just taking a wild guess. He actually sees the numbers hidden inside the stones. He could do this because of a special skill he picked up in his last life, something called the legendary Eye of Perception. He gives a quick smirk and picks up the stone on the right. In his head, he's already thinking that getting it for 50 coins is a pretty sweet deal. Some of the students noticed him right away and started eyeing whatever he had in his hands, trying to figure out what it was. The guys look at him and start laughing, giving him a hard time for turning down the offer just so he can mess around with some rocks. The main guy lets out a deep breath when he spots Yang Ding, the same jerk who used to mess with him back in his old life. The hero steps up to the bully, not backing down. He throws out a challenge, putting 5,000 coins on the line. The guys stop talking right away, caught off guard by what Ming just suggested. But then everyone just cracks up, not holding back at all, and the main guy ends up getting roasted by the group. Everyone around kept calling the stones worthless, just some rocks that nobody should care about. But Ming stayed calm, almost like he knew something they didn't. He quietly let everyone know they were about to find out who really had the upper hand when it came to money. With the bet set, he steps up, ready to crack open the stone right then and there. The bully doesn't really believe the guy has 5,000 coins to spend, but then the system goes ahead and opens up the stone anyway. The hero grinned and turned on his special skill, the Eye of Perception. He spots a bright red sword stuck deep inside the stone. It looks strong, like it's waiting for someone to pull it out. The red sword slowly starts to come loose from the stone. The hero smashed the stone, and for the first time, everyone could see the weapon hidden inside. Everyone just stares, caught off guard by what they're seeing. No one expected this, and it's like the whole place freezes for a second. Min reaches out and takes hold of his new sword, gripping the handle tightly. Everyone else in the store freezes when they see what just happened. The students look around at each other, not sure what to do next. Some of them even step back, trying to figure out if they should get involved or just stay out of it. The mood in the store shifts, with everyone suddenly paying close attention. On the screen, it shows that the weapon is a dark iron sword. It's not just tough, it actually has the power to heal the person who owns it. He grins to himself, thinking the weapon is just right for his date.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.